Okay. Welcome everyone to our third webinar of 2023. And this one, we have only 10 people in so far. A few may join us a little bit later, but it's our first attempt at trying a different, totally different time to see if we could help with people in other time zones, other countries that have been asking for us to find a different time than 7 p.m. on Monday evenings. So I don't know. We'll take suggestions in emails and see if we can find maybe a better time. Perhaps Saturday afternoon is not the best time. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. As we've done before in all of our other webinars, both last year and the year prior, as well as the other two we did in the last 2 weeks, we'll ask that you put your hand up and use the raise hand icon down at the bottom of your control panel. And then we'll use that active queue to manage who we allow to hit us up with questions. Please be courteous and kind to everyone in chat. If anyone is causing a problem or being disruptive, we do reserve the right to kick them out. And, this is just about you, answering your questions, helping you to understand what we're doing and where we're coming from, and giving you a chance to vote both, give us questions that may not have been addressed or to discuss something that you'd like to go into a little deeper detail on. We are not allowed to speak in specifics about our crowdfunding campaign, but we will speak a little bit about that here in the beginning. So I'm going to start off with a very short intro. As always, I've been doing clean energy research for the better part of my adult life, and Harmony began about 3 years ago as a project that started in our basement and sort of grew from there. We had a large following on YouTube that was excited about what we were doing and where the technology was going, and they started saying, you need to turn this into something where we can support you with a crowdfunding effort or whatever. That began in 2020, about the same time that our patents were granted. We've started our first crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder, raised about 187K in that fund. And then a year later, we did one other one, raised about 220K with that fundraising round. This fundraising round is now being conducted on Start Engine, so you can all go there. My wife will go ahead and put the link for our Start Engine campaign. It closes in about 30 days. So the last day of our campaign will be March 13th. We do not...
The countdown is
Yep, the
now.
countdown is now on our page.
Right.
She's actually seeing it.
Days.
So there will not be any further opportunities. At this point, there's no further opportunities planned for investments. So if you are thinking about investing in Harmony Turbines or you're on the fence, now would be the time to do it. And, at this point, there really isn't any, there shouldn't be any need to do anything further for fundraising, because the hope is that this year, this 12 to 14 months of where we're about to go with our development will take us into a revenue positive state. So, at this point, it's exciting, it's scary, it's all wonderful emotions rolled up into one ball of wax. But, that's what startups are all about. They're risky, they're scary, they're exciting, they're fast paced, and we're really no different in that regard. We've got a rock solid team, or at least I feel we have a rock solid team leading the charge here. So you, all of our followers, our supporters, help to round things out and make all of this possible, because without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your efforts and for following with us. And with no further blathering on my part, yeah, because I could talk forever.
You could, really.
Yeah, well, it's okay. We will jump into our first question. So at this point, yeah, Roy, well, he can put his hand up. We'll jump in with James. James was the first to put his hand up, so we'll lower James's hand and give him the floor here. James, you'll have to unmute your mic.
Got it.
Okay, where are you calling from, James? Introduce yourself.
Hello, James Cocavillo here in Nassau, New York. And I just wanted to jump. I'm completely new with a startup system, company, everything like that. So I'm basically listening and learning. I did send you I did send you an email. Wanted to know if you received it in regards to the subscription agreement that they sent.
And I do recognize your name, James. So I thought we had addressed, like I thought we were up to date on emails. So I will.
Okay, it's really one fast question, really. Received the subscription agreement. It shows an ID signature for myself and for Harmony, but there's also space there for it to be what I believe is notarized and returned, but nowhere does it say to return the agreement to anyone. Now, am I supposed to have that notarized and return it, or are those subscription ID numbers acknowledging the fact that the agreement has been made?
James, I think the only time that any notary or anything would come into play is if you're trying to sign up as an accredited investor. Just signing up as an individual non-accredited investor, which is 90% of our investors, shouldn't require any of that stuff. And we'd be happy to work with you offline. Perhaps you missed something,
okay.
But it should be a pretty straightforward. You just kind of give your name, your information. I think you have to give a social security number, and that's about it. Then a payment method. So
Yeah.
you might have just accidentally clicked into a higher category trying to say you were an accredited investor by accident.
All right, we'll find out offline. Okay.
Sure.
In the meanwhile, I think everything is going exactly how you planned, and I'm very interested in looking forward to the success of the whole adventure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We will go ahead and give Roy the floor. Roy, I'm going to put your hand down. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Buenos dias. My name is Roy Dudley. I'm the Gringo Jalapeño. Like Ramon has lived in the United States for 50 years. I've lived here in Jalapa, Veracruz, Mexico for the last 50 years. Been an active Rotarian for over 35 years and very much interested in sustainable lifestyle, sustainable energy. And when I saw your product, I thought, wow, this is going to be gangbusters for Mexico because the price and efficiency. And Ramon was mentioning that he wants to put a resort in Panama. Well, there's dozens of places, hundreds of places here in Mexico that really, really work on a commercial basis. I live right downtown here in Jalapa. It might be hard for me to put one of your turbines here, but the potential of it is fantastic. And I think once you guys get things going and we can license it from you guys and do all the metal work here, and just you guys would send us the heart of it, the main components, and that's what I'm looking for. We're going to be combining. I'm also working with Aptera from San Diego, California, which is a solar vehicle driven by the sun. I was just there in San Diego visiting them, and I think we do that combination of we're going to be doing a rotary health caravan all over Mexico, and if we could somehow incorporate what you guys are doing, it'd be hard to drag a turbine all over Mexico. But if we get some prototypes here, and when we're doing the health part of it, we can also do the sustainable part of it too. Okay, so you're going to be an integral part of this Rotary program, okay?
Well, thank you. And yes, Roy, as before the call started and we began recording, I was saying to you that we will work with any reasonable offer for partnership or distribution or manufacturing, because our goal at Harmony has never ever been about maximizing dollars. I know, we're going to lose about 10 of our 19 people on the call right now because they're going to hang up and be like, oh man, this guy isn't in it for the investors. But obviously we need to stay salient. We need to stay profitable enough that we can continue doing our work and continue building and growing the company. But our goal is not profit as the pinnacle top end of what we're striving for here. We have a purpose far beyond profit with Harmony, and it is in fact to get our technology out in all shapes and forms around the world, to a world that needs this kind of technology. So we're looking to help tip the scales in decentralizing power and manufacturing in Mexico, in India, over in Australia, Ireland, Canada. We've had places, I would have to sit back and go through all my emails, pretty much everywhere around the world. Everywhere around the world. They're contacting us, they're emailing us, asking us for licensing and distribution and manufacturing rights. And at this point, I'm saying, hang on, let us get through this year of development, and then we will start working on all of that. We just finally got the funding that we need through this crowdfunding campaign to flesh out our team and do that. So we will work with you, Roy. Any reasonable offer will be entertained. None will be refused. So yeah, at this point, we're all about getting the technology out there, which is how it should be.
Okay, good. Muchas gracias, muy amables. Adiós.
Yes.
Thank you, Roy. And I would like to give a little shout out to, he's going to kill me. He's going to be like, why'd you call me out? But Robert Jonassar has joined our call. Hi, Robert. He is one of our longtime design engineers that is actually working remotely. He works overseas, but helps with designing all kinds of pieces and parts for Harmony. So we have our new design engineer that's local in town who starts on Wednesday, and Robert will now be in a team of, myself, Robert, and our new design engineer that we have coming on. Should we announce that a little bit later? Because we haven't given out the name or any information yet.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll hold that a little bit later, we have a third person joining the team who starts on Wednesday. So we'll talk about him in a little bit, but thank you for joining, Robert. And welcome to, I think this is the first call you've been on, finally, because we have it at a time you can join. He's you're in England, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
He's shaking his head. All righty. We will jump to the next question here. Toby will lower your hand and give you the floor.
Hi, very impressed with what you've done. I wonder if
Toby,
you've
started with where you're from and
okay.
how you heard of us here.
Wisconsin.
Okay.
I can't recall how I came across you. It was through the YouTube channel, but I'm not sure how. Can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, so western Wisconsin, near where I-90 crosses the Mississippi, near La Crosse.
Welcome.
Thank you. Have you noticed a difference in clockwise versus counterclockwise rotation?
We have not done any, no, we've not done any specific testing of that. There have been people that say to us, oh, well, you should offer one for Northern Hemisphere people and another one for Southern Hemisphere people. I don't know. I don't know that you'd get a difference in the results, but we can absolutely look at doing that later on. Once we've launched, we're going to look at all different kinds of interesting things to offer people. And the direction it spins could be one of them.
I can show you data that shows that motors that I test have a different efficiency clockwise versus counterclockwise.
And which hemisphere you're in?
Pardon?
Is that dependent upon which hemisphere you're in, or just in general?
On my lab bench. So I haven't tested it in the Southern Hemisphere, but I do not believe it's related to the hemisphere.
Okay.
And I have reasons for that. I can share via email.
Sure.
Test data. And the other thing that I want to pass on to you and everybody listening, there's a man named Earl Koenig who got 3 patents on what he called mirror image symmetry coil winding. And when you use that in a generator or a motor, you get enhanced performance for instance, at the same voltage.
Okay.
One motor versus the other spins twice as fast without heater vibration buildup. So when you get to building the generator part of this, that's something you should look at. We've tried for years to get industry to accept this in motors or transformer design, and they're so resistant to it because it's not in the textbooks. But I've got videos, I can show it to you. I've done it on the lab bench on a small scale. But so I guess my question is, what would be the best way to send you information?
Toby, it's a perfect question because we have people contacting us all the time saying, hey, I've got a really cool idea that can help Harmony. And, most of the time it's things we've already looked at or thought of. But something like what you're saying, I've toyed with it in my mind, you know, because for 20 years I've done pulse motors and electromagnetic research and have looked at different ways of winding the coils, you know, starting at both ends and winding toward the middle or something like that. If you actually have usable data to support doing it one way versus another, absolutely. And I'll give you the same answer I give everyone. We're not in this to get rich off of your ideas. So if someone has a cool idea that actually would help us and, you know, not be something that's just, what would I say, untenable or, you know, not realistic, but actually something that would help us, we will find a way to compensate you or to, you know, thank you for that work or, you know, do something. You know, it's one of those things where we can't say how valuable it would be until we get a chance to test it. But, you know, we're not in this to screw somebody out of a good idea that will help us. So
Yeah,
send us a
just to be clear, I'm not interested in the compensation. I'd
No,
like to see the guy's technology used. And
Yeah.
yeah, so what he did was he started in the middle
Yep.
and wound outwards. So now you got clockwise, counterclockwise. Then
Yep.
he took the two and connected them in parallel. But he used wire half the diameter and twice as long.
I have in my big, huge list of other ideas for patents later on down the road, something very, very similar to that already annotated that I wanted to play with, but have had no time to play with it. So if your research could already jumpstart us in the direction that it was something I wanted to look at years from now, absolutely. I didn't mean it.
I think this is tied to the why you have increased efficiency clockwise versus counterclockwise.
Sure.
But that's a whole nother physics. You know, we're talking about stuff that isn't in the physics books, but
Right.
you can measure.
Yep.
Right. So what's the best way to get that to you?
So my wife just put in the chat the support@harmonyturbines.com email.
Okay.
That is absolutely the best way to start that conversation, and then we'll take it into a private conversation between myself and the designers and you, and we'll start looking at it. If it is something worthwhile, you know, I know you're saying you don't want compensation for it, but we'll find some way to thank you for what, you know, your contribution would be to the Harmony Turbines project. And maybe all you want is just your name noted somewhere that you helped to make the contribution, whatever.
You know, his daughter ended up with all his parts and pieces, which I now have, which should be in a museum because he was an machinist. And the family maybe should get some compensation and maybe a place to put all these parts to archive this kind of stuff.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about all of that. So thank you. And guys, it goes without saying, for anyone out there listening to this, you know, people contact me all the time and they're like, well, I need to get you to sign an NDA before I tell you about this. We're not going to do that. But at the same time, we're not going to sit here and screw you. We're not in this to capitalize on other people's ideas. So let's work together. If you have a good idea that can help, share it correctly with us through email first, and then we'll take it offline and we'll go from there.
Okay. I got to leave the meeting because I got a physics class.
Thank you, Toby.
I got a physics class discussion. The kids are coming over to see some of this crazy stuff.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
Have good luck with everything. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. We will put Howard's hand down and give Howard the floor. If you can introduce yourself, Howard.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. I live in New Jersey. I work in a design firm, so I'm not an engineer, but I work closely with lots of them, and I really liked the project when I saw it. My wife and I have bought a piece of property upstate New York, and we're planning on building a house there. I want
off grid.
Yeah, off grid. And so we wanted to do some wind turbines as supplement. I guess some of my questions, one would be, have you tested it in snow and ice? how it works?
Right.
The other would be, there's discussion about putting more than one in proximity to one another, and it actually increases their efficiency, having like two next to each other.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit, if you know about that, and what the orientation and spacing and so on should be.
So at this point, we have not yet done cold weather testing for snow and ice. That would be something once we're in production, we'll throw some money at that as an engineering project, saying to our team, okay, guys, it's time to solve the snow and ice issue, because there's a tremendous market in the northern region and cold regions for, you know, really, really good, clean production with wind turbines, but you need to take into account the snow and ice factor. So my best guess is it would be some form of resistive heating that we're bleeding a tiny bit of power off of the unit itself to help heat in the areas where it would need to be applied to melt the snow and ice and keep it out of the gearing and things like that. But as of right now, the initial launch will not be a unit that would be rated for snow and ice, because we just don't have a budget to get into any and all permutations that we could run into. So it is on one of the top ones that we want to start investigating as soon as we have ourselves into a revenue positive state and our company into a revenue positive state. The proximity and the grid configuration that you're speaking of was led by a university, Oxford University, back in 2021. April of 21, they released an article stating that vertical axis wind turbines put in close proximity to one another kind of create this wall effect where it squeezes and funnels the air through and increases efficiency by as much as 15% for that little wind farm. We are working right now with Penn State University to help gather that data. That is their primary goal with their funding and their grant that they received, and they are partnered with us on that specific question. What kind of grid formation, what kind of pattern will help to increase efficiencies with Harmony turbines? So it's a really cool project that they're working on, but with all, you know, the university projects can span a good 12, 14 months before we see results from that. And at this point, they just began their work a few months ago. So I would say by the end of 2023, we should start having something coming back from them that we can begin to share. And we'll share that openly with our, you know, with our community. We have no intention on keeping anything from Bucknell or Penn State or Northumbria private. That's all going to be shared openly.
Okay, good. Well, I suppose, you know, somebody suggested putting a little roof over it. Yeah, it could be mounted on the underside of a roof. But.
Sure. Yeah, there's all different creative ways you could do it to get around the snow and ice and things like that, but you're absolutely right. You know, but if you're in a windy area, you're still going to get cross blowing snow and build up and things like that. So I think in the end, our cold weather model is going to have to be made out of some specific materials that help to, you know, shed snow and ice and water, and then also a combination of resistive heating in particular areas. That would be my best guess at this point.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
You're welcome. David, we will give you the floor. If you can introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, this time did I figure out how to unmute? Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're extremely soft. Is there any way you can turn your gain on your mic up, or maybe put it closer to you?
I will sit closer, but I don't know how to adjust it.
Okay, you're better. You're much better.
Okay. So again, David Weiss in Boston. I was on earlier this week, just a few hours after seeing the ad on YouTube. And so, well, I've got a number of things to bring into this discussion. The first ones, and cut me off at any time, and you know, bring in others if you want me to break up my comments and my questions. So one of the questions I had was on the, you've been talking about because of snow and ice that you're going to focus on southern climates, but I was trying to understand whether it's just snow and ice, the incursion or intrusion into the mechanism of water, or if it's actually the temperature that has anything to do with it. Because, and the reason I was bringing that up is because, you know, Dallas, well, I mean, Texas had that deep freeze last year, and southern states have been having deep freeze, you know, 1 or 2 deep freezes this year. So southern states is not going to get you away completely from deep freeze temperatures in the winter. So again, I'm rambling a bit, but that is the question. Is the mechanism in any way affected by deep freeze temperature?
It should not be, because it's, you know, aluminum parts for the most, of the furling mechanism itself, aluminum and steel, and then a stepper motor. And stepper motors have been tested well into freezing temperatures without any problem. I think the bigger thing would be making sure that we build the units in a way that they're shedding the water off of them. So even with our Mark III development that we're working on right now, I joke and say we only built 2 Mark II units, the one that's up at Bucknell and the one that's being put together on our floor right now, but it's already obsolete because we've got about 45 design changes. Robert can shake his head. He knows. We've got about 45 design changes already built into the Mark III unit. It's crazy how many improvements we have there and how we're looking to, with every iteration, improve. The shedding ability where we get the water and any, debris or anything like that, shedding it out away from the mechanisms is one of the primary goals. So to answer your question, no, I don't think that, I mean, God, of course, negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit or something might be a problem. I'm not sure how a stepper motor would deal with that, but that's like any type of car or a vehicle or something. And when you get into crazy subarctic temperatures, maybe we would have to worry about that. But
I'm only talking about it was 60 degrees here in Boston yesterday.
Yeah.
And a week ago it was -10. So there are those variations.
Sure.
And
I don't.
Other states, well, you'll get below 0. I mean, apparently
Sure.
the weather permutations we're having lately. Okay,
Yep.
let me go on to the next one. So again, last time I mentioned the Mass Megawatt, which had developed and patented some aspect of the multi-axis cage array.
Mhm.
So I've had a busy week, so I will send you that information. But
Yep.
with the work that they did, particularly with the multi-axis, and then something else that they tried to do, which they think they may have patented, but the idea doesn't seem to make sense to me. But a way of funneling the wind before it gets to the turbines, and the guy's name is John Ricker. And again, I'll send you all this, but from what I remember, I talked to him a couple of times, probably 10 years ago. It was very interesting what they're doing. And as I mentioned again last time, they abandoned that pretty much. They kept the patents, but they moved on to adjusting to a motorized tracking solar array, so they could follow the sun and get as close to maximal sun exposure for solar panels. So that's what they do now. But the company's still there. He's still there. And I have, once I send you this stuff, I think you might find it'd be worth your time to just touch base with him. He may have some of the data that you're actually trying to accumulate at this point. So that's why I think it might be worth checking in with him.
Sure. And
so,
David, I want to interject one thing here about the funneling effect, because we've been hit with this question a couple different times. There's a group out there called Halcyon. Halcyon.com is making this kind of a green pod turbine and trying to market that. But their design relies on funneling or grabbing air from this area, funneling it through a small area, which increases the velocity, and then running their turbine with it. Any turbine that's based on, I've seen drawings and designs where they're big, huge cornucopia things like funneling the air down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the end, it's not magic. You have to gather the wind and then shove it through an orifice here in that design. Whatever the scoop or the cornucopia or the funnel, whatever it is that's grabbing the air, that surface area is not magic. So whatever that is, if it's a meter in diameter or 2 meters in diameter, whatever it is, that dictates the maximum amount of power that you can gain from that. Whether you're squeezing it and funneling it down and increasing the velocity or not, in the end, the power from that area is the maximum that you can gain from it. So I guess I'm saying this because there are some intriguing designs out there, and they talk about, oh, we increase the velocity. But in the end, it's just like trading your amperage for your voltage. In the end, the watts are the same. You're increasing the velocity, but then you're also decreasing the overall amperage behind it, or the overall push behind it, the bandwidth.
Got it.
So, okay.
And the other thing about these arrays, or the funnel, is that you can build it to be aimed toward the prevailing winds, but the wind direction shifts, so
Yeah.
you're losing a whole lot of the benefit
Yes.
of the funnel effect. So anyway,
Right. That's why we chose to build Harmony the way we did, without any
Yeah.
type of vanes or collection mechanism on the front. People talk to us about that all the time, but we said no, we're going to stick with open air, natural airflow, and go with maximizing our efficiency that way.
yeah, not to belabor this, but again, because you are considering the multi-axis cage array and how to structure that so that the individual turbines do funnel the wind to the ones that are further back, is why one of the reasons I'm mentioning Mass Megawatt, because he may have some of that data already from the demonstration projects that they had set up. So
Okay.
I will be sending you that.
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Also, I don't know, are you familiar with N-phase?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Anybody else on the call familiar with N-phase that can describe it better than I can? Raise your hand and you explain. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. I'll send you information on that. I almost invested in it last year or
Maybe
two.
we got one.
Jape might.
Okay,
Yeah, knows something.
Go ahead, Jape.
fill in, please. N-phase. Jape?
Yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself, Jape, and you can. There you go.
Yeah, my name's Jack Chapin. I'm in from Dallas, Fort Worth area. And Enphase, if I'm not mistaken, David, what you're talking about is a company that makes parts for solar installations. We have 35 solar panels on our 2-story house. We're maxed out on solar panels. It's an Enphase system with I want to say it's a German designed solar panel. They're very, very good, very efficient. We had them installed in 19 before the big freeze in 20 that we all experienced down here. And I'd just like to say, Tim, that I'd like to be on the list for prototype testing, because we do experience multiple 100-degree days, and we also experience multiple freezing days below 32. And my house faces almost directly south, and we have a west to east opening between houses behind us and to the east and the west. So we have a good east-west, because the winds down here predominantly come out of the west by northwest. And also we're basically in the middle of a hill in our neighborhood, and we also have an HOA. So it covers a lot of different things as far as on a prototype basis. But yeah, the Enphase company, it basically has to do with doing grid tie as far as the panels themselves on the house, feeding it to the converter basically. And the cells I have are basically in parallel. So if you lose one panel, you don't lose the entire amount. And they're also monitored by the company. So if we have 1 or 2 panels go out, they're supposed to contact us so they can come out and fix it. But I'm very happy with our solar installation, because I've been told a couple of different things as to the reason why we did not lose power during the freeze is because we're in a hospital district, and or we have a certain per capita of solar panels on houses in our neighborhood or in our area. But we never lost power during the big freeze, which I'm extremely grateful for. But Tim, a couple of questions to you as far as your patents.
Tim, or do you mean, are you referring to me?
Yes, it's
Chris.
Tim, correct? Yeah. So
Chris.
and so basically, I have a good friend of mine that has also patented some inventions, and he luckily, and I'm so grateful that your altruistic attitude about this, that you're not here to make a whole lot of money, and you want to get out to the little people first and not the corporations.
Right.
As to the patents, I'm assuming, in addition to your actual patent on the machine, that you've done a process patent also for the process of generating electricity with your wind turbine.
No, we have 2 utility patents that have been granted so far. We have not gone for any process patents at this point.
Okay, that's the reason why I mentioned that is because those in the world that would like to steal your idea, and I'm sure there are those out there, not just outside of this country, but big corporations in this country, namely probably the biggest manufacturer of huge commercial wind generators. In fact, we've got huge wind farms in West Texas, and they're the manufacturers of almost all of them. I would think that they would pull no stops in trying to steal your idea and bury it.
Well,
done before with corporations.
right. I did speak about this on the last call, and I will say, you know, our goal is to utilize the patents to help us achieve a state where we're revenue positive and we begin building the infrastructure for licensing, distribution, manufacturing, everything from the ground up to get this out organically to the rest of the world. But we do not, you know, we do not ever intend on having big, huge patent defense battles and things like that. So our goal would be get this birthed to a point where we can, the technology will stand on its own, that we're the first out there, the first of our kind with this technology, and we get a good name out there. But then quite literally, I will be looking for a way to start open sourcing this technology so that it can't be stolen, it can't be taken away, it can't be become proprietary by some other greedy company trying to maximize, you know, money. Because we would go bankrupt sitting there trying to defend and litigate, you know, for years and years down the road. So we're going to use our patents until we're the first to market with things. We're going to use them to our advantage to get this to a certain point, and then at that point we will make the switch to kind of start open sourcing everything so that it cannot be taken, it can't be proprietary and swept to the side and swept under the carpet or locked in a safe somewhere. That's our goal. It's always been to get this technology out to the millions and billions of people around the world.
Yeah, I call it basically the Buckminster Fuller patent, because Buckminster Fuller, when he came out with his geodesic domes, he immediately put the patent in the public domain.
Right.
For that reason. And so on a different line of curiosity, so to get your prototype started, what's the minimum wind speed?
It's beginning to spin in 1 mile an hour winds, quite literally. You're not generating power at that wind speed, but yeah, it begins moving in 1.5 mile an hour winds. It's, you know, incredibly
Have you done any max speed testing yet?
No, not yet. That's why we're finishing building the prototypes, and as soon as we're done building the Mark II and we start building the Mark III prototypes, we'll finally have a number of units that we can begin all kinds of wonderful testing with it. The biggest problem we've had up to this point is it's difficult to get efficiency ratings, coefficient of power, torque, horsepower, things like that on a device that you're waiting for the wind to come to you. So if you have a stationary unit with a resistance brake, a pony brake, or some kind of, you know, mechanism where you're lifting a given weight, a given distance over a given amount of time and things like that, you have to wait for the wind to come to you, which is, you know, very poor wind in Pennsylvania. So we will be taking our unit out on the road, and to do this easily, we need to get our generator to the point where it's mobile right along with the turbine. And then we can properly get ratings and performance and things like that directly from our generator. So that's.
Well, I'm glad to see you're moving into a larger space. That'll definitely help move things along. Because I've been in those shops where we're cramped, and it's like you've got to move around stuff to get to stuff, and then get back to where you're working on stuff.
Yeah, Jake, we can't even make our one turbine that we have right there, and we're like dancing around the thing because we're just so cramped with our little 3,000 square feet of space right now. So yeah,
as far as when you do get in that 10,000 foot space, I'm just thinking because your prototype size right now is what, about 10 feet tall?
The part that spins is about 5 feet tall by 4 feet wide. What makes it taller is how high of legs we put underneath it. You know, that's really all. But the spinning part itself is only 5 feet tall by 4 feet wide.
Well, but you know, instead of, you know, trying to get your prototype just right and then take it on the road to experience wind, and you've probably already done this as far as in-house, having like a large floor fan to simulate wind.
Yeah, fans are a very, very poor.
Which probably doesn't. Yeah, very
Yeah, they're a
poorly,
very
right,
poor
right.
way. They'll
I mean,
help
it
you.
works.
It works like 1%, 5%, something like that. It's terrible.
Right.
It's actually better. What we're going to be doing is building a jig, building a mount so that we can put it safely in the back of our truck and literally drive down the road at 40, 50 miles an hour, whatever we want. You're getting, you know, a little bit of skewed data because of the vortices and things coming off of your hood, but the data will be far, far, far better than data that we would get with fans in the shop. So, and we can achieve
Right.
far greater power potential with that as well. So it'll help us with our furling testing, with our algorithms, all kinds of wonderful things. And then when we can take it on the road, then we can park in windy areas and test, like up at Chickies Rock and places where there's bluffs and
Right.
you know, cliffs and things like that in fully stationary test mode as well. So getting it mobile and having our generator that can be coupled onto that unit are key. So we're like literally 2 weeks away from beginning work on our generator now that we're getting our final 5th person on the team. So
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking
It's-
of which,
yeah, I guess it would be a good time to
since we're talking about that.
introduce that.
I
David,
do have one more bit of information, and I don't
Sure.
know if you're aware of this, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, when they were really not focusing, but starting to investigate wind energy, there's a huge amount of data in Bushland, Texas, which is, I think it's southwest of Amarillo, Texas, because that's where the national testing started.
Mhm.
In fact, a sister of well, anyway, but I don't know if you're familiar with that, and that government facility down there in Bushland, Texas, that would have a huge amount of data that you could tap into, because it was run by the U.S. government, and that's basically public domain.
Okay. Well,
I'll
perhaps you could send.
I'll try and get that specific information as far as contact and that sort of thing, and send it.
Yeah,
That would be
send
great.
it to us. Thank you.
Yeah, and
You're welcome.
Jape, you had mentioned about being a test site for us. Can you just
I would love
send
to.
us an email with the information that you were telling us here, and we'll get you added to the list for
Awesome.
potential test site.
Yeah, because if you want to test for temperatures and also variable wind, I think my house would be perfect for it, because we
Yeah.
do experience, like I said, over 100 and below freezing, and it's variable wind because we're like on the side of the hill facing south. So
Yep.
Right.
that's all I've got. Thanks for your time, guys. I'm really enjoying this.
Thank you.
Can I come back?
Sure. You can either keep going, or we can chat very briefly about our new person we were going to hire. Something Jape was saying kind of led into that. So
Go ahead. I'll follow.
all right. We do have our 5th person finally rounding out the team. So we will have all our open positions filled at this point starting Wednesday of this week. And we have Nate joining the team. So Nate comes to us from the local area with, I should have thought I hadn't brought up his resume, but many, many years of experience in the engineering field, and I believe some aerospace, and also fuel and combustion testing, I believe, was on his resume, things like that. So I don't want to misspeak, but we're very excited to have Nate joining the team starting with us Wednesday. He will be rounding out the design efforts with myself, Robert, who is on the call but missing from his screen at the moment, and Nate. So the 3 of us will be doing the design work, and then we will immediately be handing off to the CAM and the CNC work to basically design, do up the CAM and get the CNC and manufacture the parts, and then literally building, like, all in a very tight iterative process. So I tell the guys it'll be kind of immediate gratification. You know, you design it, you build it, you put it together, and then you're testing it all in a very, very nice closed cycle. And just even having the extra hands there to help get things built, get things put together, and we're right there looking at it. Why did we put that bolt hole there? You know, we've got to move that. We've got to change this. Having people right there where you can instantly see, okay, there's a better way to do this, or maybe we better put an extra 3/8 of an inch of, you know, clearance here or something. We have the people right there on the ground, boots on the ground, that we're going to be seeing, experiencing, and building and putting it together. So it's an awesome feeling to have that closed cycle right there. Beginning this week, Wednesday, we'll have the full team for the first time.
Right. Up until this point, everything has been on him. I machined a little bit. He taught me how to machine because we were desperate to get some stuff out. But it's pretty much been all him with the design and cam work and the machining. So with these two hires, Matt started this past Monday and Nate starts Wednesday. We can finally really start making some progress here, some fast progress with our Mark III changes in build and also starting with the generator. So
Correct.
we're just
I'm
stoked.
excited, as excited as can be, to really get going with the generator, because that has been a whole year and a half in the making. We've had the designs for it for quite a while, but to actually start cutting parts and getting the materials for that is going to be huge. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, David, go ahead with what you were going to ask then.
Okay, I'm just going to continue with what I'm bringing to you, ideas. So I think Jake introduced some part of what I had understood about Enphase. It seems, if I understood their materials when I looked at this a while ago, solar panels were largely serial in their arrangement, and Enphase introduced a parallel arrangement, so that that got around the problem of if there are trees or clouds that were blocking some of the panels, this would allow you to get maximum solar exposure funneling through the system, as opposed to having to be knocked down to the level of the one that was getting the least amount of sun. So, and I'm introducing that not because you're in the solar business, but looking bigger and longer for what's the package that can come together? Who are the people that you want to be working with to get this whole thing of solar, wind, and battery storage? Now, battery storage is the next thing I'm bringing up. Another company, don't know if you've heard of them. They're still pretty new, I think, at what they're doing. They're in another funding raise right now. It's called Paladin Power. Have you heard of them?
I have not.
Paladin Power has something called stackable. I think the name of their product is Stack Bat.
Okay.
And it's I don't know if it'd be called modular enclosure or what it is, but each enclosure can handle up to 4 units, and it's directly in competition with Tesla's Powerwall, except it's superior.
Okay.
Where I can't remember the information about how long it would take and how many installers it takes to put up a Tesla wall.
Mm-hmm.
The Paladin Power Stack Bat is something that can be put up by one installer in 45 minutes.
Okay.
And it stores more energy. And they're still developing this, but they're also, it's partly underway. So the initial ones are getting out. It sounds very interesting. It's also what I will send you that information, but I mean, looking at this and saying, what's the package that can be put together? There's so many solar opportunities that are out there and that are going to be coming with the panels, the film, everything that's coming. So I'm not able to suggest one and say there's the direction to go. But in terms of partnering perhaps with Enphase and with Paladin, that's a package at that point. You've got the whole thing at that point. So that's why I'm bringing that to your attention. So the only other things on my list were, so last time I had raised the question about on the outgoing side of an underpass of a bridge.
Right.
And I'm not sure if I phrased my question to say I was thinking of a much narrower. You have, as you said, 4 foot wide array, and I'm thinking of something that might be perhaps 100 feet long, but maybe 6 inches to a foot wide or something like that.
Right.
The scoops allowing that to turn. So I don't know if that was something that I didn't express that might have affected. But anyway, I don't need to go into that. I'm just presenting with an idea because I think that there just may be some engineering that would come up with something that would work and not be counterproductive because it would creating the drag that you brought up.
Right.
The last question I have is, because I haven't looked at the the investment materials yet. Is the option available to invest from an IRA?
That would have to be a question put to Start Engine, because I
Okay.
know that they have a few different options available. I'm not sure if IRA is one of them. In our previous crowdfunding platform, which was WeFunder, I know that they did have an IRA option, so it must be something that can be done. Whether or not Start Engine chooses to allow it would be the other question. So I think their email address is contact@startengine.com. So you can just email them at contact@startengine.com and you can see what they say about it. You've got plenty of time, 30 days until the end of our crowdfunding round to ask the question, but I wouldn't wait too long, because it might take a little while for you to get the answer you need.
Yes, understood. I assume it'll be in the subscription material once I've read that, but I haven't.
Sure. It might, you might just want to go through the motions of putting an investment in, and it would offer you your ways to fund it right there. You don't even have to do a support call.
Got it. Okay, so I'm sending you a number of things. Appreciate the opportunity in my own way to be joining this effort. I'm excited about it. Stuff I've been thinking about for a long time, and it's pretty cool when you recognize someone who's in the right spirit and has the mindset and the vision of this. And I just, in closing, want to say, doing well and doing good are not necessarily antithetical. You can do both.
Right. Thank you. We're trying to do that very thing. Every day when we have our new employees coming in, I'm checking with them. I'm saying, guys, does it feel like we're moving in the right direction here? Are you excited to come to work? And it's everything from going back 2 years when we even had people just coming in doing contract work for us for a while. Even Josh, my first, contract first kind of employee that came in from out on the streets to help, loved what we were doing so much that he hated to leave, but he needed a little bit more money than what we could afford back at that time. So I do want to thank you, David, and thank you for everything. And if that was the end of what your questions were, I do want to go into a few other things that spun off from your topics there. So one of the things that David was talking about is how we plan on partnering with groups to do power. We spoke last time of having the perfect trifecta, kind of like having wind and solar on your home along with a battery bank and putting that all into the perfect type of system. We have already been contacted by numerous groups. Bronco Power is the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head, but the one that David mentioned, Paladin Power, would be another perfect example. Same thing that I said to Roy in the beginning. We will not refuse any reasonable offer to work with any group or any organization to do some kind of solution that helps make things easier for our end customers. In the end, this is not about maximizing money for Harmony, but it's about doing something that finally makes sense for you, our end consumers, our residential customers, our small businesses that are looking to help decentralize and give themselves more reliable power production. And that will definitely include some kind of power wall or power storage capabilities. So that stuff is coming fast and furious right now, heralded in by the electric vehicle market. Really, those developments that they're pushing forward for the more energy dense, more economical batteries and storage capacity is helping the very work that we at Harmony Turbines will be getting into, and the partnerships that we'll be getting into over the next, probably 12 to 24 month time frame, where we start partnering with these groups and looking to really roll out package and installation to make it easier for you, our end consumers, to put this on your home or in your home or out in the yard and have it function cohesively and properly for your needs. So we will be looking at at every reasonable opportunity there. Okay, Jape, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, if you could just put your email in the on the screen so I found it. I'm going to send it to you. I just don't have the email you want it sent to.
Yep, it's in the chat there. My wife has it up higher, but she's putting it in again right now.
If I can spell it right.
If she can spell it correctly. It's just in the chat there. Jape, you'll see it support@harmonyturbines.com.
All righty. Yeah, because I don't have the chat feature on my version of Meet,
Oh.
so it's no
Oh.
Okay,
biggie.
sorry.
Okay, just remember support. It's support@harmonyturbines.com.
Great.
And you can just go to our website, harmonyturbines.com, and you can click on in the upper right corner. It's right there.
Yeah, they're basically their wind research covers from 400 watts to 4 megawatts.
Okay.
Great.
Excellent.
So that covers you guys.
Thank you.
I'm done. You're welcome. Anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions that have come in chat?
No.
Okay. We had a smaller group today. The most I saw in our chat was 23 people, so about half of what we had over our last 2 evening rounds, but I wanted to give this opportunity for people in different time zones. So something just came in here. Nothing we need to read.
Well, I saw something in Colin and Material about a house that powers the house and 2 EVs from solar stored in the batteries.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Yep.
Yeah, at this point, guys, we're going to be heads down. Things are going to get a little bit more quiet after our fundraising round is done in the next 30 days. So we can finally kind of take a breath, take a pause, and be like, okay, that's done. Because let me tell you, raising funds and doing crowdfunding
Takes a very time consuming.
Holy cow, it's crazy.
It's a lot of desk and phone time and
yeah, I will be
yeah.
glad to be done with it. My hope is never to have to do another one again. So if we can get to our goal, we're like 3/4 of the way to our goal right now. So if you can spread the word, if you can help, help push us the rest of the way to our end goal, that would be wonderful, because it'll give us a little bit of extra padding, a little bit of extra cushion there to take care of unknown things. And in crowdfunding, it's all about momentum. Everything is momentum driven. You kind of bubble up to the top, the quicker and the higher your influx of investments come in. And then that helps to make you be noticed by other investors on the Start Engine platform, who then want to, oh, what's this Harmony Turbines thing? And then they jump on as well. So it's a cumulative effect. So if you think, oh, well, my little $1,000 investment or $2,000 investment won't help them much, it will, because it creates momentum, and that momentum carries through to create much, much more momentum on the site. And we are going to be pushing like crazy for our last 30 days. We've got a number of single exposure emails going out and exposure on their website, as well as we're going to be cranking up our advertising budget in these last 30 days. So now is the biggest push of our entire campaign, quite literally, to see if we can finish out and hit our goal of this crowdfunding round. And then we are going to finally take a step back and say, all right, now let's get our noses,
get stuff done.
Yeah, get our noses to the grindstone and crank through the next 12 months of solid R&D development and research, and sharing what I hope will be some of the coolest, most amazing videos that Harmony Turbines will have finally be putting out there, because we will be capturing data with a proper Mark II or Mark III or Mark IV unit out there in the wild with our proper, generator. We might be 1 or 2 versions into the generator by then, and getting the data that you want. And then we're going to start working on our furling algorithms to start dialing them in, and no longer just manually controlling things and furling, but actually allowing computer controls and algorithms to control our furling and see how that goes. And then the final step will be, we open the floodgates and we say, okay, we've pushed things far enough along that we're comfortable with prices, we're comfortable with the reliability of the unit and the way it's all put together so that it's not a headache for you, and the maintenance aspect of it, to where we finally say we will now take pre-orders for our first early beta units to be out in the wild to customers like yourself. So that's our hope. The next 12 months is going to be absolutely crazy, but exciting.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a wild ride. So keep your hands and your feet in the vehicle at all times. But that's pretty much it, guys. Just, we want to say thank you for your support. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for following our journey. And without you, we truly wouldn't be anywhere where we are today. So
we wouldn't be growing.
No, not at all. So
Yeah.
We've done everything we can to do this properly, to do it correctly, to be open and honest and share as we go. So you know, what happens over the next 12 months is going to be really, really cool to see when we get into our new space and we start. I'm kind of forgetting about this, but our space that we're moving into is like 45 feet tall, like the outside of the building, and we have permission to literally put our units on top of this building and get them out there, literally just right above our heads, capturing. Yes, it's still Pennsylvania, so it's not great wind, but you couldn't ask for something more easy than having your own wind turbines up 45 feet above you, capturing wind, feeding the data right down to you down below. So I'm excited as can be about that. You know, we'll put multiple units on the roof there and use them for one of our major sources of gathering data. So that's exciting in and of itself. So, okay. Without any other questions in the queue out there, I don't see much need to keep you guys on the line. It is 1 o'clock Eastern time. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining
you
us
to
on
everyone.
this Saturday afternoon here.
Robert, do you have any closing thoughts you'd want to unmute and say? No?
No.
He's like, no,
Shy.
don't do that to me. We were threatening Matt, saying if he joined today, we'd make him say hello, but he didn't
I do
join.
see maybe someone related to Nate, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know who it is. Or maybe they left now.
Yeah, maybe.
They left. They knew they were going to be put on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, guys, enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the Super Bowl here tomorrow, and thank you. Take care.
You.